Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I am continuing my series with the things I have learned about makeup, and today we're talking setting powders. I'm going to go over everything I think you should know and everything I wish I had learned. I didn't really do research before I started using a setting powder, so I wasn't really, I was kind of going in blind. I knew it existed. I didn't know anything about it other than that it existed. So in hindsight I should have done my research. So the first thing you need to know is, what is a setting powder? It is basically a matte powder, and it will remove excess shine, to calm down shininess. It will extend the wear of your makeup, pretty much. So it's basically a matte powder that gets rid of shine and is meant to extend the longevity of your makeup. Also meant to prevent smudging, creasing, transferring, anything like that. Pretty much it will keep your makeup in place. It shouldn't budge if you get the right type or the right one suitable for you. It should do this job. There are two types of setting powders. There's a tinted or a translucent. So I'll run through the reasons why you should use a translucent one. First of all, it's great if you want to bake. If you don't know what baking is, it's basically where you put a lot of powder. So with a puff, you don't usually do it with a brush. So with a puff, and you're putting it in certain spots, and then you let it sit for a good 2-3 minutes, and then you dust it off. That's all baking is. So translucent powder is great for that. If you want to set your makeup, pretty much, it ensures that it'll last all day, so translucent is great for that too. One thing I will mention is that you want to make sure you have your perfect foundation shade, because if you use a tinted setting powder, it can make your complexion appear darker, so that's something you don't want to happen. So why should you use a tinted setting powder? It can basically help to even out your skin tone, cancel out any redness, dark circles, any other imperfections you're worried about. Using a tinted one can help with that. If you want extra coverage on your foundation, say you've got a lighter foundation and you just want a bit more coverage, use a tinted setting powder. If you want to touch up, if your concealer or foundation starts to fade, a tinted setting powder, you can spot fix up anything you need to, and it'll give it a boost that it needs. Personally, I've used both. I've used a tinted one and I've used a translucent. The tinted one was like a shade 1. It was a McGrath one that I love. It's really good. But it was light enough that it didn't make much difference in the colour, so I could still get away with it with different foundations. But I definitely prefer the translucent, just because it's easier to work with. There's not so much to think about. You just put it on and you're done. Then we have two options for the type, so you can have a loose powder or you can have a pressed powder. Okay, there's not too much difference between the two. Of course, the loose is a bit messier, but they can be more finely milled and lightweight. They blur fine. They can absorb oil throughout the day. Only downside would be it's for home use. You're not going to carry it in your purse to do touch-ups, are you? It's that's the downside of it. Pressed, of course, is a semi-solid compact, so it's more versatile, I guess. You can chuck it in your handbag, that kind of thing. Great for touch-ups. It can also set your makeup, but can be used as a lightweight foundation. if you're just happen to be, I don't know, you're going somewhere in a hurry and want to just put something on quickly, that could be your thing. It's still a setting powder though, you know, remember that kind of thing. But yeah, so as for me, pressed or loose, I prefer loose at home. If I have to do a touch up during the day, I take my compact of something that I know works. That's the other thing. You kind of, if you're using two different setting powders, you want to make sure they will work with each other fine. I haven't really found a nice compact one that I can recommend just yet. I'm still kind of, there's a few I want to try, so yeah. But my main loose one that I love, of course, is my Mercier. You cannot beat it, okay? I will have anything I recommend listed down below in the description box, so you can click on the link to go and purchase it if you decide it's something you would like to try. The other thing I never knew about was I never knew there was such a thing as a setting powder and a finishing powder. I sort of knew you always use powder last to set your makeup, or you know, to stop shine and all that kind of thing. So I knew there was a powder. I didn't know it was called a finishing powder, but I guess, yeah, it probably was called a finishing powder before setting powder got introduced. So what's the difference? Well, there isn't a lot. Setting a powder will help achieve a more matte finish. So this is the thing to remember. If you're going to use a setting powder, it will be a matte finish. It will not leave your skin nice and dewy and, you know, looking really glowy. It's a matte powder, okay? Of course, it's a little harder to use a matte powder on dry skin. You would probably find you wouldn't use a setting powder. A setting powder is also, it's heavier or a thicker consistency, okay? So that's to lock in your makeup, okay? A finishing powder is pretty much the opposite. So it's more lightweight, it's softer, it's smoother. It won't lock in your makeup as much as a setting powder would. So if you're more of a dry skinned person and you want to keep your kind of dewy, moisturized, you know, healthy kind of look, a finishing powder might be more suited to you. For me, I used to use a finishing powder because I never knew about a setting powder, but nowadays I don't. I have found a setting powder works fine for me, so I don't need to have that extra expense. Even on a light sort of makeup day, I still find I set it. So yeah, a finishing powder doesn't really work for me, but yeah, there are other people that will certainly work for. Next thing would be where to put it, what to use. That's always the big thing. So yeah, setting powder. If you like to bake, as I said, you'll need a powder puff. I love this one from Mercier. Hang on, I'll just turn around so you can see this is dirty because I've just used it, but this is my wee powder puff from her. I'll turn it back around. This is flat, and you can change it around, yeah. So a powder puff for baking, definitely. Basically, I have the full size of the Mercier at the moment, so I pretty much tip it upside down, puts them into the lid, okay? Then you put your puff in, and basically you're going to get a lot on your puff. Put it on wherever you're baking. A lot of people do it in their T-zone, and then let it sit. Of course it's messy, and then dust it off with a makeup brush, okay? If you're not baking and you're like me, there's a few ways you can do it. Some people like to do it with a sponge, so they'll, same thing, tip it upside down, put some in the lid, put the sponge in, and put it on your face. If I'm in a hurry, sometimes I do it that way, but that's kind of messy too because it does go everywhere. So another thing I have since learned to do is to use a powder puff, and that pretty much means you do the same thing, put it in your lid, but what I've found is I put this in, get some on it, and then I will push it into my hand, okay? Now that stops it from going everywhere when you try and put it on your face. I wish I'd known this. So yeah, and I push it into my hand, then I put it on my face, anything that's left, and I just keep going, and it's, yeah, works wonders. But then of course I always finish off with the brush, okay? So once I've done that, sometimes there might be a little powder residue where I've gone a bit overboard or something, and I can kind of just brush it all off, okay? And also, if there's anything left in the lid, before I do that, if there's anything left in the lid, I will put my brush in and do the outsides of my face. That's the other thing, I don't use my powder puff on the outside of my face. I use it in my T-zone, okay? Then I use the brush, gets whatever's left, and put it around the outskirts, yeah, the outside of my face, okay? So that's how I use it. Do you need a different type for under the eyes? Yes, most definitely. My beloved Laura Mercier is too thick to use under the eyes, okay? So it's not a finely milled powder, but it's really, really nice. Otherwise, it's just cannot work under the eyes. I sort of went through a period of using it thinking, oh no, it's okay under the eyes. Then I realized, yeah, no, actually it's not. So yeah, under the eyes I've always used my Pat McGrath, what do they call this? Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder in the shade Light. Now of course this is looks really, really white in the pan. I have no idea why they call it light when it's so white. Anyway, it does not go on that white. But I use this under my eyes as a setting powder under my eyes. So I use a little brush, put a little bit on, tap it off, and then I gently dab it in, okay? Yeah, so using your everyday setting powder under your eyes, I would not recommend. Look for something that is specifically for the under eye. Laura Mercier, I have since found, has a under eye one, which I will be trying eventually to see if it suits, but at the moment I'm really sticking with this. I have to, yeah, get out of my comfort zone and try some other things. The Pat McGrath translucent powder, setting powder that I have tried, so that's the different one to this one, it was good under the eyes, but not as good as this, you know, so you kind of, yeah, I could make it work, put it that way, but this I love far more. So yeah, definitely get, yeah, one that's for the under eye. Cannot stress that enough. Or if you're, you know, short on money, just be very, very careful when you use it under your eyes. Use it very sparingly, especially if it's something like the thicker Laura Mercier one. It will, yeah, it's just a bit thicker, really will emphasize everything, so use a very light hand. And lastly, if you decide, okay, yep, I want to give setting powder a go, you know, where do I start, what do I do? Pretty much I'm hoping this video has sort of helped you. A few key things I would remember is it's a matte powder. It will give you a matte finish, okay? Definitely go for a finishing powder if you are more of a dry skin person. Yeah, so when you are purchasing a setting powder, a few things to take into consideration would be, number one, your skin type, okay? So definitely, are you a combination, are you dry, are you a bit of both? Take that into consideration. You need to figure out, you know, which one would be better. I mean, there are ones that are meant to be for dry skin, like dry skin setting powders, but yeah, I don't know, I've never heard of anybody say, oh, this is fantastic for my dry skin, so let me know if you have, but I just haven't. The couple of people that I do know that suffer from dry skin use finishing powder just because it suits better, and I think it suits better too. Setting powder does a great job at mattifying and removing the shine. It should be your first choice for oil control, you know. If you've got oily skin, even combo skin like myself, setting powder is the way to go. So like I keep saying, if you have dry skin, it will just emphasize, you know, more stuff, it'll dry your skin out more. Setting powder, so finishing powder is the way to go. It'll provide you with a softer, more diffused look. It'll keep some of that glowiness, moisturized sort of look in, but it will not take down a lot of your excess shine if you happen to have a little bit. You know, I mean, most dry skin people would love to have that, they don't. But yeah, if you do happen to get a bit of oil coming through, it won't help with that. Whereas the setting powder will take down that shine, mattify it to the point of well, not really looking dry, but looking mattified, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't dry the skin out. I wouldn't say a setting powder does that. Yeah. So in short, setting powder if you want to mattify, you know, and you want your makeup to last, and you have combo to oily skin. Finishing powder if you want the same similar thing. It won't set your makeup, but it will blur your pores, give it a nice soft finish. And if you have dry skin, definitely. And that's about it really. Like I say, I'm a setting girl person. I've tried 3 or 4, wait, no. I've probably tried more like 4 or 5 that, and then the earlier ones I tried, of course, I had no idea what I was doing with setting powder, so I kind of ended up getting tinted ones that were too dark. Anyway, I learned my lesson. Yeah, so do your research, find out your skin type, you know, and then decide which one you should buy. Then if you're going to go for the setting powder way, look for a translucent. If you're a bit afraid to try it, definitely get a translucent one, because it won't show anything. It'll just do the job of setting your makeup and nothing else. If you're a finishing powder person, definitely go in store and get them to match it to your foundation, because the last thing you want is it to change the colour. So definitely get it matched. Yeah. So I think that about covers everything. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff I wish I had known, or I wish I'd done my research on before I started using a setting powder. As I said, I will have my 3 favourites listed down below if you think it's something you're interested in buying. The Laura Mercier does come in a cheaper travel size version. I know it's a lot of money to spend on a setting powder, so it does come in a smaller one, which might be worth giving a try if you're just new to it, want to just see if it's going to work for you. Yeah, so I will link those 3 down below. Well, I hope this was helpful for anyone that was a bit unsure. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, if you've tried setting powders. I'd love to hear how you went. Okay, well, that is it. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye!